isn't disappointing to see Jose del Valle here with us on Football Americas. Jose, welcome. How's it going?
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me. Hi, Herb. Hey, Shaka. How you guys doing?
That was the noisiest slide in I've ever seen.
There were wheels.
Oh, boy.
About as smooth as the U.S. in the Gold Cup.
I wanted to make an entrance.
Yeah,
That's why.
did. Yeah, you did.
It's a little entertainment here behind the scenes. That was an interesting speech that we heard from Mauricio Pochettino. When you saw this video, Jose, what was your initial reaction to it?
My initial reaction was Mauricio Pochettino didn't win the Nations League. He didn't win the Gold Cup, and then I was like, he's not going to win an Oscar. That was a poor performance. I mean, there were some crocodile tears. Come on, are you kidding me? I didn't believe those tears for a second. And then what troubled me the most was the message he was sending to his players. He said, you guys deserve more. What game did he watch? In that final game against Mexico, after Chris Richards scored early in the match, Mexico outperformed the U.S. They got lucky because they only lost by 1 goal. It was all Mexico. It was a one-sided game. So when he's like, you guys deserve more, what are you talking about? Even in the semifinals against Guatemala, after Luna scored the second goal, it was all Guatemala. It was all Guatemala. In the quarterfinals, they needed PKs to eliminate Costa Rica. So I traveled by the message, and those tears, Chris, I did not believe them.
Shaka, thoughts?
Listen.
I'm not going to say anything until I hear all of you.
Anytime Emily.
Come on.
Are you moved? Do you need a handkerchief?
I'm not handing out any awards either. Let me just say, I think whenever you see an outburst of emotion like that from either player or coach, it's a long time in coming. And I made this comment before the tournament in the build-up to the Gold Cup that kind of given a lot of the exchanges, given a lot of Pochettino's posturing, I felt that everybody was in self-protect mode. Whether we're talking about Pochettino, the U.S. Soccer Federation, or any number of the players who rule themselves out. Everybody was kind of self-protecting, given a lot of the narrative. And I felt that pressure started to build. I felt, and I said at the time, I felt Pochettino kind of spun things in a way that I didn't anticipate, and he could have dealt with a whole lot better. That outburst kind of solidified that thought, in that he was under a lot of pressure, and it was telling, and he really wasn't sure what direction it was going to go. Now, to Jose's point, you could point to the performances and question a lot of what he said, but the fact that the US at least got to the final, which it didn't do in the Nations League, at least it was competitive up until the final whistle in terms of scoreline. That was a huge win for Pochettino, and that was just the emotion of it, kind of given the build-up to this tournament, getting the better of it.
What? Are you crying too?
Oh, no, I'm not crying.
He's moved.
Your eyes are watering.
I had to pick my words wisely here. My worry is people are going to confuse this with caring. Because the narrative around Mauricio Pochettino, a lot of this program, the U.S. men's national team, the players have been, they don't care, why should we care? That's what the fans have felt. Mauricio Pochettino doesn't care about the team. If he cared, he'd be recruiting dual nets. If he cared, he'd be going to see players in Europe. If he cared, he would talk to these guys. We wouldn't see him in YouTube charity matches. We wouldn't see him with I Show Speed. We wouldn't see him doing interviews talking about how much he misses Spurs and how he's ready and everybody knows how I feel about him. If that ever came, we would be there. I don't want people to confuse tears for caring. And I think he has a lot of pride in his work. Of course he cares. Of course he cares. He has a lot of pride in his work. But I'm with Shaq. I think that's pent-up pressure that's coming out. I think that's his own internal pressure. Because Jose mentioned, before Mauricio Pochettino, the U.S. men's national team didn't lose Nations League. They won every single edition. Before Mauricio Pochettino...
Is that really all on him, though?
They had, who calls the players in? Who calls the players in? And I've defended Mauricio Pochettino. I've said, hey, take a step back. The guy since he took over...
The Gold Cup roster, you're not going to defend that?
I'll get there.
Okay.
The guy since he took over has been missing at least 5 starters
Yeah.
on every single call sheet. At least. Okay? This Gold Cup, he doesn't have his Club World Cup players. This Gold Cup, he doesn't have these players. This Gold Cup, he's missing that player. But you left a legit 15 plus European players and opted for 15 Major League Soccer players with very little footballing experience. And speaking to people, the only thing that I've been able to get from those people is he knew what that was about, European football, the pedigree of these players. He wanted to see what this was about, Major League Soccer. A year out from the World Cup, if he really felt, because he speaks to the culture, he speaks of how important it is, he wants the fans to come and show out. If he really thought it was all about winning, he wouldn't have called the players he called. He would have called a different type of player. So that's on Mauricio Pochettino. I'm with Jose. They were 2 inches away from not even making it into penalty kicks against Costa Rica. Costa Rican player, I forget who was they hit the post. They were, in the final 10 minutes of that game against Guatemala, hanging on for dear life. They didn't know what hit them. They were praying for the final whistle. And while they had a few chances against Mexico, I think everybody on this panel would agree Mexico thoroughly dominated the U.S. men's national team in a way that they've not been dominated in quite some time. So that's on Mauricio Pochettino. And while I'm glad that he feels the pressure, while I'm glad that in some crazy way people are going to think he cares, because I think people,
I think
people need to get behind this right now. I think Mauricio Pochettino needs to change the way things are going. I'm not buying the tears.
I think we're reading way too much into tears, for starters. I think if we take the tears out of it and just focus on the message, the conversation would be completely different here.
That they deserve more?
But sometimes that they deserve more?
Yeah, that's the message.
The message is wrong, yeah.
Yeah, but we're focusing on the tears, crocodile tears, Emmy nominations,
I'm focusing
performance.
on
We're calling
the
it a performance. We're calling it a performance.
What would
honestly.
you call it if you're telling players they deserve more? Why do they deserve more? Why is there some divine right because they wear the American crest that they deserve more against opposition?
I think there was a bond that we didn't know about between Pochettino and this particular group of players. That he felt the dedication. I'm saying that there was this bond, and that he saw the work that these players put in and day out. But again, I think we're reading too much into the fact that he just cried. And he cried for a few seconds, by the way. But if he would have cried the whole speech, Jacques, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a player in that locker room and you see in front or behind the scenes, right? Because we're talking about this because we saw the video of it. But as a player, how do you react in that moment if you see
there you go, Sheikh.
your coach?
I want to hear this.
I'm not bothered one way or the other, I'll be honest with you. I'm more, as a player, on the one hand, you're more tuned into the message and to the point that both Jose and Herc are making. We could question the message all we want. It's only one thing any manager is going to say in that position, that we deserve more. You lose a final. It doesn't matter the final. Every single final, I can guarantee you, the losing manager said, we deserve more. We could have been. What could have been? So that doesn't change. In terms of the emotion, in terms of the tears, as a player, it doesn't faze me one way or the other. I've sat in many a dressing room. Earlier today, I was actually talking to someone about Kevin Keegan's outburst back in 95, 96, long time ago, albeit. But again, and to draw the comparisons, that was one you could see coming. While it kind of spilled out on national television in England, or all of a sudden after a game he played against Leeds, as a player, you could see it coming. You could see the pressure building on Kevin Keegan, and it culminated in that moment, which is why I'm confident in saying, as I do about Pochettino and the pressure coming into this tournament. This wasn't about the final. This wasn't about what should have been. This was about a whole lot more. And as a player, it doesn't phase.
But the context matters. Remember the UEFA Champions League final when Real Madrid beat Liverpool 1-0 with a Vini Jr. goal? Mm-hmm. After that game, if Jurgen Klopp said we deserve more, I think we would all agree. Courtois was the best player of Real Madrid. Mm-hmm. That says it all. Real Madrid, they only got one shot on goal, which was the goal that made the difference. But in this final, when Mauricio Pochettino said we deserve more, and you watch the game and clearly Mexico was the better team, I don't think the message is right.
What does he say, though? To that point, what does Mauricio Pochettino say right there, right then to his team immediately after a final?
Yeah, the problem here is the I agree with Shaq that if I replay every time we've lost, and regardless of what it's been, the coach will always say, and it's because what Chris is saying, they build a bond. He wants more for them. The same way we build a bond here, we've all been on different types of teams, and you get to know people, you build a bond with them. This is much more than this game. This is much more than this. We deserve more. I for some reason think people will think that there's just this divine right for the U.S. men's national team to dominate CONCACAF when they don't win at home. They're not liked at home. They're struggling against Guatemala. They're struggling against Costa Rica. They're outdrawn versus Mexico. And it's a frustration of all the things boiling over. Because if we right now piece things together, this is we deserve more. And then he goes out and he complains about the U.S. men's national team fans. So what's he saying? What's it? We deserve more. Do we deserve more support? Do we deserve more, people to believe in us? It's not just about the game now that I'm thinking about it, but I think it's a culmination.
But you said it right.
Things boiling over.
Yeah.
But you said it right. I mean, he put himself in this position by not bringing their best players.
Yeah.
So, and like managers, they always complain, oh, we don't have enough time. And that's true, that is true. Mauricio Pochettino was hired in October of last year. 1 year away from the World Cup, this was the last chance he had to have all his best players, like build chemistry. And he missed that chance. He missed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like what's surrounding the U.S. men's national team. What I remember the conversation we had before the Gold Cup is that this was a lot of pressure for Mauricio Pochettino, and I can't help but think in my high school the senior sweater said "content's under pressure," and it was true. The last year, going into IB exams, it's a lot of pressure. Going into a Gold Cup is obviously a lot of pressure. What's coming from here and next year? Good luck.